Hi, I'm Mike Cashion, a lawyer with Cashion Legal. We are a litigation and employment law firm based in Calgary, Alberta. If you've recently been notified that you are the subject of a workplace investigation and you have more questions about this process, in this video, I'm going to run through some of the basic concepts that are applicable to workplace investigations. And by the end of the video, you'll have a better understanding of your situation and be able to assess whether you need legal representation moving forward. Workplace investigations can come up in any variety of situations. Sometimes employers are under legal obligations to conduct investigations in response to specific allegations, and sometimes an employer is conducting an investigation to determine whether or not they have just cause to terminate an employee's employment. In Alberta, if an employer receives an allegation of harassment or bullying or abuse in the workplace, they are legally required to conduct an investigation. Conversely, there are situations where an employer is not legally required to conduct an investigation, but they do so simply to protect their own interests. If you're dealing with an employment situation that is governed by the Alberta laws, there are generally no rules about who conducts the investigation. Sometimes when an employee is the subject of a workplace investigation, they don't even know what the allegations against them are. Unlike the criminal context, an employee who's the subject of a workplace investigation does not necessarily have a right to know all the specifics of the allegations against them. It's usually a good idea for the employer to provide the employee with some understanding about what's being investigated, but the reality is, in many situations, employees are required to attend investigation interviews with an incomplete picture of the circumstances before the interview is even commenced. If the employer is conducting a valid workplace investigation, meaning they have meaningful cause to do so, the employee is required to meaningfully participate in the investigation process. This means that the employee must answer the employer's questions and must provide the employer with any information that the employer reasonably requests in order to conduct the investigation process. Failure to do so by the employee may be a breach of the employee's obligations to the employer. If you feel that the employer's investigation is not legitimate and you are thinking about not participating in the investigation process, we strongly encourage you to seek legal advice about your circumstances. Sometimes employees are suspended during an investigation, and there may be good reasons for that. If the employer is dealing with allegations of misconduct that could jeopardize the safety and well-being of other employees in the workplace, the employer is going to want to make sure that the impugned employee is not in the workplace while they're determining what has actually occurred. If you're feeling nervous and overwhelmed about the investigation process and you want to have someone attend with you, like a lawyer or a union representative, you are generally entitled to do so. However, the expectation is that the support person will not interfere with the investigation process. Unfortunately, there is no hard and fast rule for how long workplace investigations will go on for. Sometimes they're over in a few weeks, sometimes they can take months, and we've seen workplace investigations that even extend beyond a year. If you are the subject of a workplace investigation, it is reasonable to think that the investigation might affect your employment or your career. The employer may use the results of the workplace investigation to terminate your employment or institute some other kind of discipline. However, our general recommendation is still to participate with the investigation process and deal with the results at the end of the investigation. If the investigation is concluded and the result is unfair and there was some flaw in the process of the investigation, there are opportunities to attack that through legal action. If after watching this video you're still concerned about the workplace investigation that you find yourself in, please contact us today to book a consultation.